As someone who never really played a lot of Halo growing up, it's shocking how addicted I am to playing Halo Infinite. And of course, the game has its issues, but I find the core gameplay to be incredibly good. And as I try to progress through the diamond ranks, and you can check out that struggle live on my stream every Tuesday and Thursday night, I find that I'm learning more and more about the importance of grenades. A well timed and well placed grenade can really swing an entire game and give your team all the momentum it needs to secure a win. So let's talk about Halo Infinite's grenades and some strategies you can use to help become a better player. Now, a disclaimer, I'm not claiming to be the best Halo Infinite player. I'm actually far from it, and I make a lot of mistakes when I'm playing, which, some of you have definitely seen on stream, but I try to learn from my mistakes and form those learnings into guides and tutorials for you. Okay, so quickly, let's just go over what the different types of grenades are in the game, because that'll help structure the rest of the video. We've got the standard frag grenades, and these ones have the most bounce to them, and you get 2 of them at the start of each match. Next up, you've got the plasma grenades. These need to be picked up and can stick to enemies if you hit them dead on. They don't really have much bounce to them though at all. Spike grenades, similar to plasma grenades, they need to be picked up and they can stick to players, but they can also stick to any surface, such as walls or ceilings, and they're actually most effective against vehicles. And last, but definitely not least, are the Dynamo grenades. These guys are great. They need to be picked up, and they come equipped with an electric charge that can chain across multiple enemies. They're really great for breaking shields of opponents and for disabling vehicles. Easily my favorite grenades in the game. Alright, so we did a quick recap of what all the grenades are in the game, so let's now discuss some different strategies for each grenade. Also, I just want to point out a general strategy here for grenades. A large part of using your grenades effectively is situational awareness. Having map knowledge, listening for footsteps, anticipating your opponent's next move, they're all important for improving your grenade play. So even before we learn about strategies for each grenade, I would recommend playing quick play or hopping into the training mode that's in the academy and focus on building up your map knowledge and trying to anticipate your opponent's next move. It's also important to know that friendly fire is on when you play ranked, so by practicing in training mode or quick play, you don't necessarily need to be as careful using grenades, but it should help you give a foundation for being successful in ranked play. Okay, so first up, frag grenades. As I mentioned, you always spawn in with 2 frag grenades, and I know it might seem tempting to spam them any chance you get, and it might even seem like the enemy is actually doing that to you, but you really need to be smart with when you use your frag grenades. If you end up using your grenades too often without much purpose, you're going to end up being at a disadvantage in fights. But if you end up being too conservative with your grenades, you'll end up losing fights and replenishing the enemy's grenades, because every time you die with grenades, the enemy can easily pick them up for themselves. So there's really like a balance of using your frag grenades often enough to win fights, but not so sparingly where you end up helping the other team out. This applies to all the grenades actually, but it is the most relevant to the frags since you spawn in with them. The frags are also very bouncy, and their detonation is based upon whenever they hit a floor. So you essentially have about 2 seconds from when it hits a floor to when it explodes. So instead of trying to throw grenades at the opponent, try to focus on bouncing the grenades to them. You'll have a higher chance to damage them this way. Throw it in front of them, bounce it around a corner, things like that will end up giving you the advantage. Focus on throwing grenades on flat surfaces as well, because sometimes when you throw them on angled surfaces, it can kind of give like odd bounces that end up wasting a grenade. There's also this neat method of using the grenades that mainly applies to the frags, but can also apply to other grenades in certain situations, and that method is called the fish barrel method. I actually learned about this method through another YouTuber called Bass to Mouth, which is a funny name, and I've linked his video in the description, as well as some other great tip videos from other creators, because I think the more tips and guides that we have out there, the more well-rounded we can all become when playing. So basically, the way that the fish barrel method works is if you can anticipate where an enemy will be, you throw a frag in front of them and behind them. So that way they basically have no other choice but to take damage, and you're essentially trapping them in between your grenades and giving yourself the advantage in the fight. All right, let's talk about plasma grenades. So when it comes to plasma grenades, it's all about anticipating your opponent's movement. Even if you aren't able to stick them with a grenade, throwing it at the floor around them will certainly deal a good amount of damage. Now these grenades aren't as bouncy as the frags, so you can't really bounce them around corners much, but you can also use the fish barrel method with these, but you can't really depend on the bounciness like you can with the frags, so you need to be very precise with your throws. Plasma grenades are great for close quarters combat, and they're especially good against multiple enemies because of their blast radius. Now, like the plasma grenades, the spike grenades are great for close quarters combat, but they have a smaller blast radius than the plasma grenades. And as mentioned earlier, they can stick to any surface and are great for taking out vehicles. Spike grenades don't bounce though, so you won't be able to do any cheeky plays with these. But I find that these grenades are often forgot about during play because they're just so vehicle focused. I think they can still offer some value, but it's hard to take these ones over the plasma grenades in most situations. My usual kind of strategy with the spike grenades is I pick them up, I hold on to them for whenever I'm in a close quarters combat situation, and I spam away. If you can anticipate your opponent's next move, they can be very useful, but I find that most opponents are able to avoid these nades. Okay, the Dynamo grenades. Easily my favorite ones in the game. They are so versatile and they can win you fights when you're outnumbered. They have some bounce to them, so you can throw them around corners or use the fish barrel method to wreak havoc on your opponent, and they can easily break the shield of your opponent, so throwing them in the general vicinity of an enemy basically gives you an automatic advantage. The electricity from these grenades can also chain to multiple enemies, which is why they're really great for fighting when you're outnumbered. These are probably the most valuable grenades in the game, and I am always going to go out of my way slightly to pick them up because they can make a huge difference. They're also great for disabling vehicles, which is just a bonus of these awesome nades. With similar bounciness to the frags, a great damage radius like the plasma grenades, and the fact that they're great against vehicles like the spike grenades, the Dynamos are the most versatile grenades in the game. You should absolutely be picking these up any chance you get. And that pretty much sums up my tips for using grenades in Halo Infinite. I know I didn't go too in depth and there's probably some tips out there that I missed, so if you have any tips of your own, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Also a reminder that there are some great other Halo Infinite videos from other creators in the description if you'd like to check those out. I stream on this YouTube channel every Tuesday and Thursday night, and we're usually playing Halo, and I'm currently trying to climb through Diamond, and it's been a real struggle, but I'm sure I'll be putting out more tip videos from the things I learn along the way. If you like more tip videos for Halo, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it, and it helps with the almighty algorithm that determines the fate of content creators worldwide. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.